Hey all, today I am in Napa Valley, California, and I have the opportunity to drive the Lexus LX 700H. And this is a new hybrid for the brand, and it is the first time the LX has gotten a hybrid. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about that in this video. What I'm going to do is a tech check, because the really interesting thing that Lexus has done is pretty much every vehicle in the LX 700H lineup has the same technology. So what I want to do is take a look at it, because there's a lot of good stuff on here. So let's take a closer look at this week's car du jour, the Lexus LX 700H. All right, so we are just going to actually start on the inside of the vehicle. And I will say this driving position is clearly not set up for me, but you have your power on button right there. You do have a little graphical information or animation that shows up, which is, you know, if you've driven Lexus before, that's pretty familiar. Okay. Yeah, just take this in for a minute. So essentially you have three screens. You have your digital display back here, you have your infotainment system right here, and then you have this. I haven't quite decided how I feel about this. So you know what? Let's just start with that, because this is going to be the screen that shows up when you're driving off-road. It essentially shows what's happening with the vehicle, which wheel is getting power. You know, it'll show your hybrid powertrain and where the power is going. It shows your air suspension. Now, this screen is not touchable, so you're not going to be able to do anything like if you want to lower or raise the air suspension here. That's not going to work. You actually, yeah, there's a toggle for that. But you can see what it's doing through this screen. Now, the other thing that I will point out is you do have essentially climate controls over here, and it looks like whoever was in the passenger seat had their heated seat on. But you do have the redundant controls here, so heated seat, cooled seat, steering wheel, same over here. But you can also do it through the screen, and then you have your ability to control your fan there, but not here. So that is not redundant, but you can control the heat here or there. So climate controls here, and then you have a setup screen here, which is really just kind of controlling your brightness and your contrast, and then some other little controls here. For my money, I would probably keep it right here, because it looks cool. Yeah, especially when you're roading, it looks kind of cool. Okay, so now let's talk about the infotainment system. So this is the newest Lexus infotainment system. It has natural voice commands, you know, really good navigation and map. You can see it shows the roads with traffic. So if it was a lot of traffic going on, that would show up as red, but it's green. And you can say things like, "Hey Lexus, take me home."
I found 6526 Pound Street. Would you like to go now?
No. And by the way, this is not my home address. I do not live in California. That's the hotel that I'm staying at. But you can do natural voice commands for the navigation system. You can say things like, "Hey Lexus, I'm cold."
Setting the driver's temperature to 71 degrees.
You can also say, "Hey Lexus, turn on my heated seat."
Setting the driver's seat heater to high.
And you can have a little bit of fun with the system and say, "Hey Lexus, tell me a joke."
I love telling dad jokes. Sometimes he will laugh.
So not dad jokes, but dad jokes. Okay. Sometimes it takes me a while to get them and I have to think about it, but yeah, they make me laugh anyway once I get them. So you do have the natural voice commands. I like that. You also have, you know, access to your audio sources. You can pair your phone and have wireless Apple CarPlay. and it fills out the screen really well. We've discovered with Toyota and Lexus vehicles that if I try to pair my phone and show you um, the the Apple CarPlay, I lose my sound, so we're not going to do that right now. But then you have your vehicle settings right here. Okay, so it doesn't scroll, but you have your vehicle settings right here, and then you have another set of settings right here. One thing I will point out: this vehicle has the semi-aniline whew, seats. So, they're like a really nice leather seating surface. And as long as the vehicle, the Lexus LX 700H, comes equipped with those seats, one of the cool features you have is going to be a massage function. And so you have to do a little bit of a tap, tap, tap to get there. But then when you hit your seat, it'll show you the different kinds of massage features that are available. I kind of like this one. And then you can turn it on, and then you can, kick up the intensity. And they work really well. My complaint about this is you literally have to go into this, into this, into this to get to that. And I really just want maybe a button here or on your seat controls here where you would be able to just activate this screen and go straight here. So I like the massaging seats. I don't like the work you have to do to get to the massaging seats. That's all I'm going to say about that. So the navigation system is really good. I like, again, the active navigation where it tells you where there's traffic. And you do have a head up display, and so it will show, your directions in here. And you can even set up this screen to show your directions in here. Okay, so now that we are on this screen, let's talk about how you configure it. So you have to press and hold this OK button. And once you do that, you have the opportunity to change, kind of like, you have three sections. And so you have the opportunity to adjust how the three sections look. And you literally just kind of go up and down to scroll through the options in terms of what is in the center. So you can have this speedometer tachometer with the map in the middle. You can do driving support. You can keep it blank. You can do the full map in that center area. It doesn't take up the full screen, but it will take up the full center area. And then you come back to, your more traditional gauge. Now, if you want to change what is in the right side of the cluster, then you just scroll over there, and then you can scroll through some of the things that are available there, and they are different things. And when you go to the drive info, or actually I want the navigation, it just shows you a compass. And then you can come over to this left quadrant and scroll through, and you could have a double compass if you wanted. But I'm going to do fuel economy average. And what I'm going to point out is this vehicle has been sitting around a lot, so this right here is not the fuel economy you're going to get. The combined fuel economy for this vehicle is about 20 miles per gallon, and in a short drive you really don't have the opportunity to test something like that. So what else do we have going on over here? Okay, so you know what, we did off-roading first, which we were in the over trail model, which was really good. But the cameras, let's talk about the cameras for a second. So the camera button is over here. It is not anywhere here, which, first off, I think that is a little bit weird. But the cameras themselves are really good. So you've got this around view camera. You press the button when you're in park, it'll show you like what is going on around the vehicle. If you press it again, it turns off. If you put it in drive and you are in like 4 low or one of the off-road modes, it will pop up cameras on each side. We saw something similar to that in the Forerunner. Then let's see, if you put it in reverse, you've got the backup camera and the around view camera. And I like the fact that you can change your view just a little bit in terms of what you have going on. And then again, when you're in drive, you've got the front view as well as the around view camera. And you have even more options in terms of what you can do with the camera angles, turning your dynamic guidelines on and off. So I just, I like the different things that you can do with the camera. And I wish it stayed on while you were driving at speed. So this typically turns off at about 8 or 9 miles per hour. And I found, especially when driving in off-road modes, that I wanted it to stay on longer because you'd sometimes speed up and then you would slow down and then you would have to come over and turn the camera back on. So not a big deal, but just a little comfort feature that I wish was a thing. I think this should be able to stay on until you turn it off, essentially. Okay, so good cameras. And by the way, like, I don't know if you noticed, this is really good clarity. And the other thing that you see that you have going on here is essentially what they call like an invisible hood. So as you drive around, like, and you see the invisible hood part, as you drive over something, you essentially see what is underneath the vehicle while driving. And I think that looks kind of cool. And super helpful in tight spaces, places like Chicago. All right, what else do we have going on? You also have a rear camera mirror. So I personally prefer to drive with actually just using the mirror, but I know a lot of people love this digital display, and it's really helpful if you have a lot of passengers or gear, um, because you wouldn't be able to see out that rear window if you had, 3 people in the middle seat and 2 people in the back seat. They would be filling out that space. And it's times like that that this rear camera just really comes in handy. And I like the fact that it's an option. And if you don't want it, you can turn it off. Because this is meant to be a really solid off-road vehicle, some other things that you have that you wouldn't necessarily have on some other vehicles, you've got your drive modes, and then you have the multi-terrain select. So let's go through the drive modes first. And you know what? I'm sick of having to reach. So we're just gonna power this forward a little bit so I can just have my foot on the gas. Okay. So we'll go through the drive modes first. And what I really like about it is you do have the graphics that show up in the behind the wheel cluster. So there you have the comfort. We'll go down to eco. You can see what that looks like. Go back up. Then normal, sport, sport S, and then you can customize your drive mode as well. So I like I like the graphics. I'm a geek for stupid, small, simple things, and there are just some little tweaks that happen. I noticed, obviously when you're in fuel or in the eco mode, you're going to get a little less of throttle response. When you are comfort, it's going to feel a little bit more cushy over bumps and things like that. When you're in your sport or sport S mode, I felt the steering and the throttle just really seemed a lot more responsive when you were driving. All right, so that takes care of your drive modes. Well, if you and that's when you have this button selected, then that's what this wheel operates. Now, if you go into your multi-terrain select, that's when you're going to be on specific kinds of terrain. So you've got your dirt, your sand, your mud, and your deep snow. So in addition to some really incredible functionality, again, totally geeking out over stupid graphics, but I love them. They make me happy. So you can really customize this vehicle for how you are driving it, where you are driving it, when you want to drive it. And then, yeah, you even have 4 high and 4 low to at your disposal to be able to use. Now, I will say, when we were in the off-road, I was able to use the crawl control, and holy cow, is this really cool. We had this really neat off-road area that was it was a small little loop, but we had rocks, we had off camber, we had logs, we had things that we were going over, and I did one full loop by hitting crawl control and keeping it on level 2, and it just literally pulled me through the entire course. And the benefit of that is then you can keep your eyes on the road and you can just really focus on steering and driving rather than steering, driving, braking, gas. The vehicle manages your throttle control for you, and it was really, really well done. In terms of off-road, I will point out you do have 3 different lockers. You have your center here, and you also have your rear and front lockers. All right, also in this area, yep, I want to talk about this a little bit. So I did have my phone in here. I didn't have it in here for a really super long time. I did notice that it added some heat, but it didn't necessarily power down my phone or stop my phone from, wow, that's really nice wood. Sorry, digression. Um, it didn't power down my phone or stop it from charging, but I will say this does charge your phone very, very slowly. So if you are just trying to maintain a charge or maybe charge a little bit over a road trip, this will work. But if you need to power up more quickly or you need some serious juice, this is going to be your best bet. And yeah, you've got a nice little space right here where you can set your phone. One more tech feature that I want to look at before we climb into the second row is this right here. You have a cool box. Okay, there's cords in there right now, but you do have a standard cool box on all of the Lexus LX 700Hs. So not for food necessarily, but you could put your beverages in here and then have a nice cold soda or sparkling water at the end of the day or while you're driving. So just standard cool box. All right, I lied. There's two more things I want to talk about before I climb into the second row seat and check out the technology back there. And the first thing I want to talk about is my driving position, because even though this is a really large vehicle, I feel like as a shorty, I have a really good driving position. I have a really nice distance between me and the steering wheel. I feel like I can see over the hood really well. Plus, the hood lines kind of give me a really good idea of where my wheels are. So even though I can't, like, I'm not all the way up here, I still feel like I can see pretty well out of the front, and I really like the big windows on the sides. So I like my driving position. That technologically I think is pretty cool. The other thing that I want to talk about is going to be this right here, because this is a very expensive vehicle. This is like $120,000. We'll look at the sticker sheet when we're sitting in the back seat, and this is weird. I'm doing a little bit of a Kaby Lame impression here, but come on, this is that. I want a button at this price point. I want a button. All right, so this is my view from the back seat, and I will point out, even though this is not a tech feature, you do have a really generous amount of legroom and footroom. Yes, I'm only 5 feet tall, but still, somebody much taller than me is going to have plenty of leg and footroom. But this right here is really what I want to talk about, because you have heated and cooled seats as well as climate controls back here, and you have, just the ability to control your temperature as well as your airflow. You have air vents here as well as up here, which I really like. I don't know that I've seen the double air vent thing before, but that I can get behind. I appreciate that. And if you needed to charge your phone, you also have the ability to do that right here. So, or, whatever other device. So you do have some tech features back here that I appreciate, and a low tech feature that I'm going to appreciate is the sunshade. Now, speaking about technology, something else I want to talk about really quick before we get into this sticker sheet right here is the fact that you have actual door handles on this vehicle. So in some other Lexus vehicles, you have a digital latch that you have to press the button to open it, but this has a physical hard door handle, and sometimes low tech just is better. It's just better. If it's not broke, why break it? Okay, now let's take a look here. So this is the luxury trim, and the base price is $121,000. I just need to swallow there for a moment. $121,000. Okay, but what do you get with that? You have your 457 horsepower. You've got the 3.4 liter twin turbo engine. The max torque of 583 pound-feet, 8,000 pound towing capacity. So, I'm not going to read through all of this, but adaptive variable suspension, center locking differential. You've got the, again, just a lot of features. The 2,400 watt inverter, because this is a hybrid, that is an add to this. You won't get this on the LX 600. So that is a nice added feature in terms of technology. You have the Mark Levinson sound system. So I think that is one of the things that is not going to be available on the base trim is the Mark Levinson audio system. Also, the massaging seats are not going to be available on the base trim, but pretty much everything else that you see here is going to be available on the base trim of this vehicle. So, that's why I was like, well, I don't need the Ultra Lex version of the vehicle to go over because you're going to have a lot of good stuff and it's all standard. But yeah, base price for this trim is $118,000. As tested, 121, 145. Gulp. Okay, I do want to talk briefly about the third row before we get into the final thing that I want to discuss, which is the cargo area. So you do only have two seats back here, which I appreciate. But in terms of tech features, yep, you have USB charge port. You don't have a plug, but you have USB charge ports on both sides. So I will appreciate that. I'm going to say, because of the short distance you have right here, this is really only going to be a seat for smaller adults or children. Tall adults are not going to be super comfortable back here. So that's really all I want to say about the third row. All right, the last bit of technology that I want to talk about on the Lexus LX 700H is going to be the cargo area. So you have the button to push to open this. You also have the kick activation for open and close. But let's talk about this shelf, which is actually pretty low tech. The reason why this is here is because you have, the battery pack that kind of bumps up the load floor. And so they wanted you to be able to have a flat surface when you fold these seats back to put stuff in the cargo area. So you have the shelf. Now, if you didn't want the shelf, you can, just kind of pop it out or up like this, or when the seats are folded flat, you can also put it all the way down. Pretty low tech in terms of what we have going on, but then you can pop it back into place. This is different than what we saw in the Sequoia because it had like the little shelves and the layers that you could put it up and out. But this will hold 175 pounds. But I am going to say I'm not going to fit back here. I put my backpack back here and it literally just fit in this space. So this is not, if you need to use this third rows, you are not going to be using the cargo area. So what I want to say is a really good thing that you can tow 8,000 pounds with this, because if you need to have cargo, you're going to want to tow it. Yeah, because it's not going to fit here if you need people and things. So, all right. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is the fact that you have these third row power fold seats, and you literally have to stand here and hold the button. So if I let go, the seat stops. I I find that annoying. I want a one-touch operation where you can touch it and go, and then the seats pull down a little bit faster than this. This $120,000 is a little bit low tech for me. Now, probably somebody who owns this vehicle is going to leave the seats up or down most of the time, probably picking a few nits here, but one touch, $120,000, I'm not asking for much. So, but once you have this flat, again, you can see the point of having this shelf, because now you have this flat surface that you can put something back here and it won't like fall into, this little gap here. And then, I mean, the benefit is going to be then you could put little things like umbrellas or my tripod or something like that under here. So again, not a bad punt. What else do we have going on? So it looks like you also have a manual release here for your second row seats. So you do have then this full flat area. And I will say that doesn't come in all trims, because I was looking at something else earlier and I was really kind of disappointed that it did not have the release button for the second row seats. So that is just to put those seats down. It is not to put the seats up. So you will have to muscle them back into the up position if you want them back up. So you do have the power up for the third row, but again, you have to stand here and hold it until they are all the way up. Now the last feature you have back here, in addition to the just the press the button lift gate, is what they call the walk and or the lock and walk. So if you press this button, you can load stuff in, and then it'll sense the key fob under here, so it won't close until you walk away. I find that to be a really nice feature, especially because you're probably going to have something in your hands and you're like going to have to juggle. And so you can hit that button, get the stuff in your hands, and walk away. So I like that as well. I guess, you know what? I keep lying to you. I'm sorry. There is one more thing that I want to show you about this area. And that is going to be the fact that you can set a height adjustable set this lift gate, and you simply get it to where you want it, maybe like here. So get it to where you want it, maybe here. Whew, that was a little bit of a workout. And then you press and hold, and you got a beep, 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 beep. And then when you shut it, it'll go down. And then when next it opens, perfect position for a shorty like me. All right. So that is what I have for you today in the Lexus LX 700H in terms of a tech check. There's going to be a lot of other information out there that we'll be doing first drive reviews, but yeah, I geek out about the tech, so that's what I wanted to bring you today. So I can't wait to actually get this for a full test. We'll do a full review at that time. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time with a new car du jour.